Good evening. Well, I'm representing Oakland, California this afternoon. Originally, I'm an Aussie. I had about as many hours of sleep last night as the Dutch scored in the World Cup final yesterday. And being Dutch, that's very sad. So I've had no sleep. I've had a lot of caffeine. I'm Australian. Chances are you're not going to hear very much of what I'm going to say today, but I'll try and make it clear and presentable. So I'm going to talk about disengaged decision-making. We work with non-profits, governments, private enterprise, community groups, and so we see a lot of decision-making. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to make honest decisions. So GIS, we talk a lot about it this week. What is the role and what are the goals of a GIS? And us as GIS professionals, are we spatial scientists? Are we geographers? Are we decision-makers? Are we data creators? Is that our role? Is that what we as people who use GIS, is that what we see the whole purpose of a GIS being? These are the things that a GIS is meant to do. Now, what are we meant to do with a GIS? The uses of a GIS system. It can be a really powerful tool to inform government. It can be a powerful tool to inform the community, to inform user groups. It can be great for managing information and assets. So it's got a lot of uses, but who's going to use the information out of these GISs once it gets beyond us? So what is our audience? When we make a map, when we collect information, when we gather and release data, what is our audience? And what do they care about what we're giving them? Who are they? Do we really know them? And what do we really know about what they want from us? And so we have these expectations. When we make a map, when we work with people, we have expectations. But often, honestly, do we really know who they are and what they really want from us? Often we're operating on a very different educational level or technological level, and so the gap is big. So when it comes to the decision-making process, so we're going to go through some examples of typical decision-making processes that we've been involved in our work in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the first example is from the waterfront development planning area, a very expensive bit of land in Oakland on the waterfront. The city planning meetings, the community's all there, not one map in the room. People are meant to make decisions and understand what's happening without a single map in the room, and this is a common decision-making process that happens in our society. Another example of decision-making is healthcare access. We can make a great map which shows all the healthcare services, where your clients are, and the vehicular access that your clients have to your services, and then give that to the service provider and expect them to analyze and understand that map and make good decisions from that map. Another example is if we're buying up affordable housing that's been foreclosed by banks, we want to be able to say, well, is this affordable housing in an area that's safe? And so we can look at, well, we're going to be smarter. We're going to add crime data onto these things and figure out, is this a neighborhood that people want to buy a home in? So coming back to our users, do we really trust the users of our products, our maps, the great data sets we do, the web systems we publish? Do we really trust them to actually use what we're giving them in a way that's responsible, that understands the information in the way that we think that information is being presented? We may think it's clear. We're operating on a level that's a little different than often our users are operating on. And so one of the things that's important is how much feedback do we really get from our users? When we talk about community groups or government agencies, do we ever really get good feedback from them about this map was useful because of this information was used less because it was too complex or it wasn't detailed enough? We don't really get a lot of really good feedback in most organizations. Some do, and you guys are on a great track if you do, but the majority of places don't get good information and feedback. So for us as analysts, as GIS data managers, do we really add value to any of this? Do we collect the data? Do we farm it out to people? Do we make a pretty map and send it off? Are we adding intelligence? Are we thinking about what this is? And so what I'm suggesting is a lot of us, myself included at various times in my career, have needed to really get more involved in the process. We often, the text is a bit small there, so we have a spatial analyst, but we often have a user and they're not very much connected together. So one thing that's important that we do a lot of is capacity building. And so capacity building is really important for politicians. If we're giving them a map on crime or on public safety issues, we need to make them aware of the limitations of the data, how they can use it, and for make sure that they can actually make good decisions and understand how to use it. But us in the room here, the GoS Geek community, we need a bit of capacity building too. We need to understand that not everyone is going to look at the data with the hours and hours that we've put into understanding it. People are going to look at that data all of a sudden. So what I think we need a little bit is a bit of a new breed of GIS analyst. A lot of you are this already, and that makes a difference in your work. If we're purely back-end tech geeks and we're purely data geeks, we don't understand the application of what we're doing, we're always going to get a limited value return on what we're doing. And so I think it's really important for a lot of us to consider re-engaging. There's a disconnect between us sitting in the back room making awesome products, great data, brilliant metadata, but we don't realize how it's getting used out in the real world, out in the field, and how people are actually using the information. This is a really good example for me, is that the visibility of a GIS unit within a department. I worked at the state health department. After 4 years, there were still people realizing, wow, you guys are here and you do maps. That's amazing. So many places you work, the GIS department is in this building there, but no one knows where they are. So that's pretty much my time. I think it's important that we re-engage. Quick plug for nonprofitgis.org. It's a work in progress. Thank you for your time.